We'd like to welcome everyone for our Sunday Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada. We'll continue with the chapter 90, summary description of Lord Krishna's pastime. Who are online, they can use the subtitles for easier reading. Hare Krishna. In this way, Lord Krishna used to enjoy the company of his 16,000 wives. Some devotees of the Lord who want to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the mellows of conjugal love are elevated to the position of becoming wives of Krishna. And Krishna keeps them always attached to him by his kind behavior. Krishna's behavior with his wives, his movements, his talking with them, his smiling, his embracing, and similar other activities, which are just like those of a loving husband, kept them always very much attached to him. That is the highest perfection of life. If someone remains always attached to Krishna, it is to be understood that he is liberated and his life is successful. With any devotee who loves Krishna with his heart and soul, Krishna reciprocates in such a way that the devotee cannot but remain attached to him. The reciprocal dealings of Krishna and his devotees are so attractive that a devotee cannot think of any subject matter other than Krishna.
For all the queens, Krishna was their only worshipable object. They were always absorbed in thought of Krishna, the lotus-eyed and beautifully blackish personality of Godhead. Sometimes, in thought of Krishna, they remained silent, and in great ecstasy of bhava and anubhava, they sometimes spoke as if in delirium. Sometimes, even in the presence of Lord Krishna, they vividly described the pastimes they had enjoyed in the lake or river with him. Some of such talk is described here. The queens said, "Dear Kurari bird, now it is very late at night. Everyone is sleeping. The whole world is now calm and peaceful. At this time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sleeping, although his knowledge is undisturbed by any circumstances. Then why are you not sleeping? Why are you lamenting like this throughout the whole night? Dear friend, is it that you are also attracted by the lotus eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by his sweet, smiling and attractive words, exactly as we are? Do those dealings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead pinch your heart as they do ours?"
Hello, Chakravaki. Why have you closed your eyes? Are you searching after your husband, who may have gone to foreign countries? Why are you lamenting so pitiably? Alas, it appears that you are very much aggrieved. Or is it a fact that you also are willing to become an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We think that you are anxious to put a garland on the lotus feet of the Lord and then place it on your hair. Oh dear ocean, why are you roaring all day and night? Don't you like to sleep? We think you have been attacked by insomnia, or if we are not wrong, our dear Shamasundara has tactfully taken away your gravity and power of forbearance, which are your natural qualifications. It is a fact that for this reason you are suffering from insomnia like us. Yes, we admit that there is no remedy for this disease. Dear moon god, we think you have been attacked by a severe type of tuberculosis. For this reason you are becoming thinner and thinner day by day. O Lord, you are now so weak that your thin rays cannot dissipate the darkness of night. Or is it a fact that, just like us, you have been stunned by the mysteriously sweet words of our Lord Shamasundara? Is it a fact that it is because of this severe anxiety that you are so grave? O breeze from the Himalayas, what have we done to you that you are so intent on teasing us by awakening our lust to meet Krishna? Do you not know that we have already been injured by the crooked policy of the Personality of Godhead? Dear Himalayan breeze, please know that we have already been stricken. There is no need to injure us more and more.
Dear beautiful cloud, the color of your beautiful body exactly resembles the bodily hue of our dearmost Shyam Sundara. We think, therefore, that you are very dear to our Lord, the chief of the dynasty of the Yadus, and because you are so dear to him, you are absorbed in meditation, exactly as we are. We can appreciate that your heart is full of anxiety for Shyamasundar. You appear excessively eager to see him, and we see that for this reason only, drops of tears are gliding down from your eyes, just as they are from ours. Dear Black Cloud, we must admit frankly that to establish an intimate relationship with Shyam Sundar means to purchase unnecessary anxieties while we are otherwise comfortable at home. Generally, the cuckoo sounds its cooing vibration at the end of night or early in the morning. When the queens heard the cooing of the cuckoo at the end of night, they said, "Dear cuckoo, your voice is very sweet. As soon as you vibrate your sweet voice, we immediately remember Shyam Sundar, because your voice exactly resembles his. We must frankly admit that your voice is imbued with nectar, and it is so invigorating that it is competent to bring back life to those who are almost dead in separation from their dearmost friend. So we are very much obliged to you. Please let us know how we can welcome you or how we can do something for you."
The queens continued talking like that, and they addressed the mountain as follows. "Dear mountain, you are very generous. By your gravity only, the whole crust of this earth is properly maintained. Although because you are discharging your duties very faithfully, you do not know how to move. Because you are so grave, you do not move hither and thither. Nor do you say anything, rather, you always appear in a thoughtful mood. It may be that you are always thinking of a very grave and important subject matter, but we can guess very clearly that you are thinking of. We are sure that you are thinking of placing the lotus feet of Shyamasundara on your raised peaks, as we want to place his lotus feet on our raised breasts."
Dear dry rivers, we know that because this is the summer season, all your beds are dry and you have no water. Because all your water has now been dried up, you're no longer beautified by blooming lotus flowers. At the present moment, you appear very lean and thin. So we can understand that your position is exactly like ours. We have lost everything due to being separated from Shyamasundar, and we no longer hear his pleasing words. Our hearts no longer work properly, and therefore we also have become very lean and thin. We think, therefore, that you are just like us. You have turned lean and thin because you are not getting any water from your husband, the ocean, through the clouds. The example given herewith by the queens is very appropriate. The riverbeds become dry when the ocean no longer supplies water through the clouds. The ocean is supposed to be the husband of the river, and therefore it is supposed to support her. Unless a woman is supported by her husband with the necessities of life, she also becomes as dry as a dry river.
One queen addressed a swan as follows. "My dear swan, please come here. Come here. You are welcome. Please sit down and take some milk. My dear swan, can you tell me if you have any message from Shyam Sundar? I take you to be a messenger from him. If you have any such news, please tell me. Our Shyam Sundar is always very independent. He never comes under the control of anyone. We have all failed to control him, and therefore we ask you, is he keeping himself well? I may inform you that Shyam Sundar is very fickle. His friendship is always temporary. It breaks even by slight agitation. But would you kindly explain why he is so unkind to me? Formerly, he said that I am his dearmost wife. Does he remember this assurance? Anyway, you are welcome. Please sit down, but I cannot accept your entreaty to go to Sham Sundar. When he doesn't care for me, why should I be mad after him? I am very sorry to let you know that you have become the messenger of a poor-hearted soul. You are asking me to go to him, but I am not going. What is that? You talk of his coming to me? Does he desire to come here to fulfill my long expectation for him? All right, you may bring him here, but don't bring with him his most beloved goddess of fortune. Do you think that he cannot be separated from the goddess of fortune even for a moment? Could he not come here alone, without Lakshmi? His behavior is very displeasing. Does it mean that without Lakshmi, Shamsundar cannot be happy? Can't he be happy with any other wife? Does it mean that the goddess of fortune has the ocean of love for him and none of us can compare to her?
All the wives of Lord Krishna were completely absorbed in thought of him. Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, the master of all yogis, and all the wives of Krishna at Dwarka used to keep this Yogeshwara within their hearts. Instead of trying to be master of all yogic mystic powers, it is better if one simply keeps the supreme Yogeshwara, Krishna, within his heart. Thus one's life can become perfect, and one can very easily be transferred to the kingdom of God. It is to be understood that all the queens of Krishna who lived with him at Dwarka were in their previous lives very greatly exalted devotees who wanted to establish a relationship with Krishna in conjugal love. Thus, they were given the chance to become his wives and enjoy a constant loving relationship with him. Ultimately, they were all transferred to the Vaikuntha planets.
The Supreme Absolute Truth, Personality of Godhead, is never impersonal. All the Vedic scriptures glorify the transcendental performance of his various personal activities and pastimes. It is said that in the Vedas and in the Ramayana, only the activities of the Lord are described. Everywhere in the Vedic literature, his glories are sung. As soon as soft-hearted people, such as women, hear those transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, they immediately become attracted to him. Soft-hearted women and girls are therefore very easily drawn to the Krishna consciousness movement. One who is thus drawn to the Krishna consciousness movement and tries to keep himself in constant touch with such consciousness certainly gets the supreme salvation, going back to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. If simply by developing Krishna consciousness one can be transferred to the spiritual world, one can simply imagine how blissful and blessed were the queens of Lord Krishna, who talked with him personally and saw Lord Krishna face to face. No one can properly describe the fortune of the wives of Lord Krishna. They took care of him personally by rendering various transcendental services like bathing him, feeding him, pleasing him, and serving him. Thus, no one's austerities can compare to the service of the queens at Dwarka.
Shukadev Goswami informed Maharaj Parikshit that for self-realization, the austerities and penances performed by the queens at Dwarka have no comparison. The objective of self-realization is one, Krishna. Therefore, although the dealings of the queens with Krishna appear just like ordinary dealings between husband and wife, the principal point to be observed is the queen's attachment for Krishna. The entire process of austerity and penance is meant to detach one from the material world and enhance one's attachment to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the shelter of all persons advancing in self-realization. As an ideal householder, he lived with his wives and performed the Vedic rituals just to show less intelligent persons that the Supreme Lord is never impersonal. Krishna lived with wives and children in all opulence, exactly like an ordinary conditioned soul, just to teach those souls who are actually conditioned that they must enter into the family circle of Krishna, where he is the center. For example, the members of the Yadu dynasty lived in the family of Krishna, and Krishna was the center of all their activities.
Renunciation is not as important as enhancing one's attachment to Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for this purpose. We are preaching the principle that it does not matter whether a man is a sannyas or a grihastha householder. One simply has to increase his attachment for Krishna, and then his life is successful. Following in the footsteps of Lord Sri Krishna, one can live with his family members or within the society or nation, not for the purpose of indulging in sense gratification, but to realize Krishna by advancing in attachment for him. There are 4 principles of elevation from conditioned life to the life of liberation, which are technically known as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha: religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. If one lives a family life following in the footsteps of Lord Krishna's family members, one can achieve all 4 of these principles of success simultaneously by making Krishna the center of all activities.
It is already known to us that Krishna had 16,108 wives. All these wives were exalted, liberated souls, and among them, Queen Rukmini was the chief. After Rukmini, there were 7 other principal wives, and the names of the sons of these 8 principal queens have already been mentioned. Besides the sons born of these 8 queens, Lord Krishna had 10 sons by each of the other queens. Thus, altogether, Krishna's sons numbered 16,108 times 10. One should not be astonished to hear that Krishna had so many sons. One should always remember that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that he has unlimited potencies. He claims all living entities as his sons, so the fact that he had 161,080 sons attached to him personally should be no cause for astonishment.
Among Krishna's greatly powerful sons, 18 sons were Maharathas. The Maharathas could fight along against many thousands of foot soldiers, charioteers, chivalry, and elephants. The reputations of these 18 sons are very widespread and are described in almost all the Vedic scripture. The 18 Maharatha sons are listed as Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Diptiman, Bhanu, Samba, Madhu, Brahadbhanu, Chitrabhanu, Vruka, Aruna, Pushkara, Vedabhanu, and Shrutadeva, Sunandana, Chitrabhanu, Chitrabahu, Virupa, Kavi, and Nayagrodha. Of these 18 Maharathas, sons of Krishna, Pradyumna is considered the foremost. Pradyumna happened to be the eldest son of Queen Rukmini, and he inherited all the qualities of his great father, Lord Krishna. He married the daughter of his maternal uncle Rukmi, and from that marriage Aniruddha was born. Aniruddha was so powerful that he could fight against 10,000 elephants. He married the granddaughter of Rukmi, the brother of his grandmother's Rukmini. Because the relationship between these cousins was distant, such a marriage was not uncommon. Aniruddha's son was Vajra, and when the whole Yadu dynasty was destroyed by the curse of some Brahmanas, only Vajra survived. Vajra had one son whose name was the Pratibhavu. The son of Pratibhavu was the Subhavu. The son of Subhavu was named Shantasena, and the son of Shantasena was the Shatasena.
It is stated by Sukadev Goswami that all the members of the Yadu dynasty had many children. Just as Krishna had many sons, grandsons and great grandsons, each one of the kings named herewith also had similar family extensions. Not only did all of them have many children, but all were extraordinarily rich and opulent. None of them were weak or short-lived, and above all the members of the Yadu dynasty were staunch devotees of the Brahminical culture. It is the duty of the Kshatriya kings to maintain the Brahminical culture and protect the qualified Brahmanas, and all these kings discharge their duties rightly. The members of the Yadu dynasty were so numerous that it would be very difficult to describe them all, even if one had a duration of life of many thousands of years. Srila Sukadeva Goswami informed Maharaja Parikshit that he had heard from reliable source that simply to teach the children of the Yadu dynasty there were many as 38 crore 8 lakh tutor or acharyas. If so many teachers were needed to educate their children, one can simply imagine how vast was the number of family members. As for the military strength, it is said that King Ugrasena alone had 10 quadrillion soldiers as personal bodyguards.
Before the advent of Lord Krishna within this universe, there were many battles between the demons and the demigods. Many demons died in fighting, and they all were given the chance to take birth in high royal families on this earth. Because of their royal extent post, these demons became very much puffed up, and their only business was to harass their subject. Lord Krishna appeared on this planet just at the end of Dwapara Yuga to annihilate all these demonic kings, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Paitranam sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. The Lord comes to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreant. Some of the demigods were asked to appear on this earth to assist in the transcendental pastime of Lord Krishna. When Krishna appeared, he came in the association of his internal servitor, but some of the demigods also were requested to come down to assist him, and thus they took their birth in the Yadu dynasty. Yet Yadu dynasty had 101 clans in different parts of country. All the members of these different clans respected Lord Krishna in the manner benefiting his divine position, and all of them were his devotee, heart and soul. Thus, all the members of the Yadu dynasty were royal opulent, happy and prosperous, and they had no anxiety. Because of their impact, faith in the devotional to the Lord Krishna, they were never defeated by any other kings. Their love for Krishna was so intense that in their regular activities, in sitting, sleeping, traveling, walking, sporting, cleaning, bathing, they were simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna and paid no attention to the bodily necessities. That is the symptoms of a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Just as when a man is fully absorbed in some particular thought, he sometimes forgets his other bodily activities. The members of the Yadu dynasty acted automatically to their bodily necessities, but their actual attention was always fixed on Krishna. Their bodily activities were performed mechanically, but their minds were always absorbed in Krishna consciousness.
Srila Shukadeva Goswami has concluded the 19th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by pointing out 5 particular excellences of Lord Krishna. The first excellence is that before Lord Krishna's appearance in the Yadu family, the river Ganga was known as the purest of all things. Even impure things could be purified simply by touching the water of the Ganga. This super excellent power of the Ganga water was due to its having emanated from the toe of Lord Vishnu. But when Lord Krishna, the Supreme Vishnu, appeared in the family of the Yadu dynasty, he traveled personally throughout the kingdom of the Yadus, and by his intimate association with the Yadu dynasty, the whole family not only became very famous, but also became more effective in purifying others than the water of the Ganga.
The next excellence of Lord Krishna's appearance was that although he apparently gave protection to the devotees and annihilated the demons, both the devotees and the demons achieved the same result. Lord Krishna is the bestower of 5 kinds of liberation, of which Sayujna Mukti, or the liberation of becoming one with the Supreme, was given to demons like Kamsa, whereas the gopis were given the chance to associate with him personally. The gopis kept their individuality to enjoy the company of Lord Krishna, but Kamsa was accepted into his impersonal Brahmajyoti. In other words, both the demons and the gopis were spiritually liberated, but because the demons were enemies and the gopis were friends, the demons were killed and the gopis protected.
The third excellence of Lord Krishna's appearance was that the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by demigods like Lord Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, remained always engaged in the service of the Lord, even though the Lord gave more preference to the gopis. Lakshmi ji, the goddess of fortune, tried her best to be on an equal level with the gopis, but she was not successful. Nevertheless, she remained faithful to Krishna, although she generally does not remain in one place, even if worshipped by demigods like Lord Brahma. The fourth excellence of Lord Krishna's appearance concerns the glories of his name. It is stated in the Vedic literature that by chanting the different names of Lord Vishnu 1,000 times, one may be bestowed with the same benefits as by thrice chanting the holy name of Lord Ram. And by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna only once, one receives the same benefit. In other words, of all the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, including Vishnu and Ram, the holy name of Krishna is the most powerful. The Vedic literature, therefore, specifically stresses the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya introduced this chanting of the holy name of Krishna in this age, thus making liberation much more easily obtainable than in other ages. In other words, Lord Krishna is more excellent than his incarnations, although all of them are equally the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The fifth excellence of Lord Krishna's appearance is that he established the most excellent of all religious principles by his one statement in the Bhagavad Gita, that simply by surrendering unto him, one can discharge all the principles of religious rites. In the Vedic literature, there are 20 kinds of religious principles mentioned, and each of them is described in different sastras. But Lord Krishna is so kind to the fallen, conditioned souls of this age that he personally appeared and asked everyone to give up all kinds of religious rites and simply surrender unto him. It is said that this age of Kali is 3/4 devoid of religious principles. Hardly 1/4 of the principles of religion are still observed in this age. But by the mercy of Lord Krishna, not only has this void of Kali Yuga been completely filled, but the religious process has been made so easy that simply by rendering transcendental loving service unto Lord Krishna by chanting his holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one can achieve the highest results of religion, namely being transferred to the highest planet within the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Considering all this, one can immediately appreciate the benefit of Lord Sri Krishna's appearance on the earth and understand that his giving relief to the people of the world by his appearance was not at all extraordinary.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami thus concludes his description of the super exalted position of Lord Krishna by glorifying him in the following way. O Lord Krishna, all glory is unto you. You are present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Therefore you are known as Jananivas, one who lives in everyone's heart. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hirdeshe Druna Tishtati. The Supreme Lord in his Paramatma feature lives within everyone's heart. This does not mean, however, that Krishna has no separate existence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Mayavadi philosophers accept the all-pervading feature of Parabrahman, but when Parabrahman or the Supreme Lord appears, they think that he appears under the control of material nature. Because Lord Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki, the Mayavadi philosophers accept Krishna to be an ordinary living entity who takes birth within this material world. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami warns them, Devaki Janmavada, which means that although Krishna is famous as the son of Devaki, actually he is the super soul, or the all-pervading supreme personality of Godhead. The devotees, however, take this word Devaki Janmavada in a different way. The devotees understand that actually Krishna was the son of Mother Yashoda. Although Krishna first appeared as the son of Devaki, he immediately transferred himself to the lap of Mother Yashoda, and his childhood pastimes were blissfully enjoyed by Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. This fact was admitted by Vasudeva himself when he met Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda at Kurukshetra. He admitted that Krishna and Balaram were actually the sons of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Vasudeva and Devaki were only their official father and mother. Their actual father and mother were Nanda and Yashoda. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami describes Lord Krishna as Devaki Janma Vada.
Sukadeva Goswami then glorifies the Lord as one who is honored by the Yadu Parishad, the assembly house of the Yadu dynasty, and as the killer of the different kinds of demons. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have killed all the demons by employing his different material energies, but he wanted to kill them personally, to give them salvation. There was no need of Krishna's coming to this material world to kill the demons. Simply by his willing, many hundreds and thousands of demons would have been killed without his personal endeavor. But actually, he descended for his pure devotees, to play as a child with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and to give pleasure to the inhabitants of Dwarika. By killing the demons and giving protection to the devotees, Lord Krishna established a real religious principle, which is simply love of God. By following the factual religious principle of love of God, even the living entities known as the Shirachara were also delivered of all material contamination and transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Sthira means the trees and plants which cannot move, and Chara means the moving animals, especially the cows. When Krishna was present, he delivered all the trees, monkeys, and other plants and animals who happened to see him and serve him, both in Vrindavan and in Dwarka.
Lord Krishna is especially glorified for giving pleasure to the gopis and the queens of Dwaraka. Shukadeva Goswami glorifies Lord Krishna for his enchanting smile, by which he enchanted not only the gopis of Vrindavan, but also the queens of Dwaraka. The exact words used in this connection are Vardhayan Kam Devam, in Vrindavan as the boyfriend of many gopis, and in Dwaraka as the husband of many queens. Krishna increased their lusty desires to enjoy with him. For God realization or self-realization, one generally has to undergo severe austerities and penances for many, many thousands of years, and then it may be possible to realize God. But the gopis and the queens of Dwaraka simply by enhancing their lusty desires to enjoy Krishna as their boyfriend or husband, receive the highest type of salvation.
The behavior of Lord Krishna with the gopis and the queens is unique in the history of self-realization. Usually people understand that for self-realization one has to go to the forest or mountains and undergo severe austerities and penances. But the gopis and the queens simply by being attached to Krishna in conjugal love and enjoying his company in so-called sensuous life fully of luxury and opulence, achieve the highest salvation, which is impossible to achieve even for great sages and saintly persons. Similarly, demons such as Kamsa, Dantavakra and Shishupala, who all treated Krishna as an enemy, also got the highest benefit of being transferred to the spiritual world.
In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva offered the respectful obeisances to the Supreme Truth, Vasudeva, Krishna. After taught his son, Sukadeva Goswami, to preach Srimad Bhagavatam, it is in this connection that Sukadeva Goswami glorifies the Lord with the word Jayanti. Following in the footsteps of Srila Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami and all the acharyas in disciple succession, the whole population of the world should glorify Lord Krishna, and for their best interest they should take to this Krishna conscious movement. The process is less and helpful. It is simple to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended that one be close to the material ups and downs. Material life is temporary, and so ups and downs of life may come and go. When they come, one should be as tolerant as tree, as humble as the meek, as the straw in the street. But certainly he must engage himself in Krishna consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the super soul of all living entities, out of his causeless mercy comes down and manifests his different transcendental pastimes in different incarnations. Hearing the attractive pastimes of Lord Krishna's different incarnations is a chance for liberation for the conditioned soul. And the most fascinating and pleasing activities of Lord Krishna himself are still more attractive, because Lord Krishna personally is all attractive. Following in the holy footsteps of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, we have tried to present this book, Krishna, for being read and heard by conditioned souls of this age. By hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, one is sure and certain to get salvation and be transferred back home, back to Godhead. It is stated by Sukadeva Goswami that as we hear the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, we gradually cut the knots of material contamination. Therefore, regardless of what one is, if one wants the association of Lord Krishna in the transcendental kingdom of God for eternity in blissful existence, one must hear about the pastimes of Lord Krishna and chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
The transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna are so powerful that simply by hearing, reading, and memorizing this book, Krishna, one is sure to be transferred to the spiritual world, which is ordinarily very difficult to achieve. The description of the pastimes of Lord Krishna is so attractive that it automatically gives us an impetus to study repeatedly, and the more we study the pastimes of the Lord, the more we become attached to Him. This very attachment to Krishna makes one eligible to be transferred to his abode, Goloka Vrindavan. As we have learned from the previous chapter, to cross over the material world is to cross over the stringent laws of material nature. The stringent laws of material nature cannot check the progress of one who is attracted by the spiritual nature. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord Himself. Although the stringent laws of material nature are very difficult to overcome, one who surrenders unto the Lord can very easily cross over nescience. There is no influence of material nature in the spiritual world. As we have learned from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the ruling power of the demigods and the influence of material nature are conspicuous by the absence in the spiritual world.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami has therefore advised Maharaja Parikshit in the beginning of the second canto that every conditioned soul should engage himself in hearing and chanting the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Srila Sukadeva Goswami also informed King Parikshit that previously many other kings and emperors went to the jungle to prosecute severe austerities and penances in order to go back home, back to Godhead. In India, it is still a practice that many advanced transcendentalists give up their family lives and go to Vrindavan to live there alone and completely engage in hearing and chanting the holy pastimes of the Lord. This system is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan followed it. But at the present moment, many karmis and pseudo devotees have overcrowded the holy place of Vrindavan just to imitate this process recommended by Sukadeva Goswami. It is said that many kings and emperors formerly went to the forest for this purpose, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur does not recommend that one take up this solitary life in Vrindavan prematurely.
One who prematurely goes to Vrindavan to live in pursuance of the instructions of Sukadeva Goswami again falls victim to Maya, even while residing in Vrindavan. To check such unauthorized residence in Vrindavan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has sung a nice song in this connection, the purport of which is as follows. My dear mind, why are you so proud of being a Vaishnava? Your solitary chanting of the holy name of the Lord is based on a desire for cheap popularity, and therefore your chanting is only a pretension. Such an ambition for a cheap reputation may be compared to the stool of a hog, because such popularity is another extension of the influence of Maya. One may go to Vrindavan for cheap popularity, and instead of being absorbed in Krishna consciousness, one may always think of money and women, which are simply temporary sources of happiness. It is better that one engage whatever money and women he may have in his possession in the service of the Lord, because sense enjoyment is not for the conditioned soul.
The master of the senses is Rishikesha, Lord Krishna. Therefore, the senses should always be engaged in his service. As for material reputation, there were many demons like Ravana who wanted to go against the laws of material nature, but they all failed. One should therefore not take to the demoniac activity of claiming to be a Vaishnava just for the false prestige, without performing service to the Lord. But when one engages oneself in the devotional service of the Lord, automatically the Vaishnava's reputation comes to him. There is no need to be envious of the devotees who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord. We have practical experience of being advised by the so-called Babajis in Vrindavana that there is no need to preach, and that is It is better to live in Vrindavan in a solitary place and chant the holy name. Such Babajis do not know that if one is engaged in preaching or in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the good reputation of a preacher automatically follows one. One should not therefore prematurely give up the honest life of the householder to lead a life of debauchery in Vrindavan. Srila Shukadeva Goswami's recommendation to leave home and go to the forest in search of Krishna is not for immature person. Maharaja Parikshit was mature. Even in his household life or from the very beginning of his life, he worshipped Lord Krishna's Murti. In his childhood, he worshipped the deity of Lord Krishna, and later, although he was a householder, he was always detached, and therefore, when he got the notice of his death, he immediately gave up all connection with household life and sat down on the bank of Ganges to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 19th chapter of Krishna, the summary description of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Hari Bol. So we'll start again today because there is 15 minutes more left. So we'll start again Krishna book reading from the first chapter. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. The preface or the very beginning, first chapter?
Advent of Lord Krishna.
Chapter 1, the Advent of Lord Krishna. Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings, who were actually demons but were posing themselves as the royal order. At that time, the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of this earth known as Bhumi went to see Lord Brahma to tell of her calamities due to the demoniac kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved, and he at once started for the ocean of milk where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar.
In the Vedic mantras, there is particular type of prayer called Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods, after offering their obeisances onto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Sukta, it is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of this universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on his planet, and Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu not by seeing him directly but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. There is a planet within this universe called Shvetadivya, and on the planet there is an ocean of milk. It is understood from various Vedic literatures that just as there is the ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there is an ocean of milk, somewhere there is an ocean of oil, and somewhere there are oceans of liquor and of many other There are oceans of liquor and of many other types of liquids. The Purusha Sukta is the standard prayer which the demigods recite to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shirodakshay Vishnu. Because he is lying on the ocean of milk, he is called Shirodakshay Vishnu. He is the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead through whom all the incarnations within the universe appear.
After all, the demigods offered Purusha Sukta praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They apparently heard no response. Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from the Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcasted the message to the demigods. That is the system of receiving Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the media of the heart, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Teen Brahma Hridaya Adi Kaiva. The transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted to the Brahma through the heart. Here also, in the same way, only Brahma could understand the message transmitted by the Lord Vishnu, and he broadcast it to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with his supreme powerful potency, and as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of annihilating the demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different families in the world, just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. The excellent word used here is Tatta Priya Tam, which means the demigods should appear on earth in order to please Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. The demigods were further informed that Ananta, the plenary portion of the Lord Krishna, who is maintaining the universe planet by executing his millions of hoods, would also appear on earth before Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that external potency of Vishnu, Maya, with whom all the conditioned souls are inmost, would also appear by the order of the Supreme Lord, just to execute this his purpose.
After instructing and pacifying all the demigods as well as Bhumi with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all Prajapatis or progenitors of the universal population, departed for his own abode, the highest material planet called Brahmaloka. The leader of the Yadu dynasty, King Shurasena, was ruling over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as the district known as Shurasena, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Shurasena, Mathura became the capital city of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of the Yadu dynasty because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is the place where Lord Sri Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwaraka.
Once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate toward his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena, in order to please his sister Devaki, had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudeva's chariot and was driving. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes the sister and brother-in-law to their home. Because the newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family, the brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. The full dowry contributed by Devaka was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated with golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 1,800 chariots. He also arranged for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when a Kshatriya is married, a few dozen of the bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the bride, go to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maidservants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from time immemorial, traceable at least to the time before the advent of Lord Krishna, 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki.
While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious movement. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums combined together. They were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasingly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot, when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which he specially announced to Kamsa. Kamsa, you're such a fool. You're driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, but you do not know that the eighth child of this sister will kill you.
Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena of the Bodha dynasty. It is said that Kamsa was the most demoniac of all the Bodha dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with his sword. Vasudeva was astonished at Kamsa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows with great reason and evidence. He said, quote, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the most famous king of the Bodha dynasty, and people know that you are the greatest warrior and a valiant king. How is it that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your own sister at this auspicious time of her marriage? Why should you be so much afraid of death? Death is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took your birth, you began to die. Suppose you are 25 years old. That means you have already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you are dying. Why then should you be so much afraid of death? Final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years. You cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means annihilation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the 5 elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body, according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks on the street. He puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See how the plant worms change from one twig to another so carefully. Similarly, the living entity changes his body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as the living entity is conditioned within this material world, he must take material bodies one after another. His next particular body is offered by the laws of nature, according to the actions and reactions of this life.
The body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dreams of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen the gold and we have also seen a mountain. So in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dream, we see that we have a body which is flying in the sky, and at the same time, we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creation of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies.
The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the 5 objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In its speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death.
Hare Krishna, that concludes our today's reading of the Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. We dedicate today's reading to Srila Prabhupada in a prayerful honor to our beloved spiritual master, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He went back to Godhead this morning. We continue our reading next Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Hare Krishna, thank you all. We'll pay our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. And to each other, Pancha Kalpatarubhasya Krupa Sindhubha Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Krishna Book.